I saw the sort of level of feedback you were getting from the and the questions you were getting. So I'm more interested in sort of the type of feedback and assessment you get on the course, and which, just any comments about it, what's valuable. I know it's tough, all the assessment, but I mean, what can make it valuable?
So at the end of each module, we have sample questions that we can test ourselves with to get an idea of what to expect in the exams. Then we do the exams themselves, and we get feedback from the lecturers, which is actually given to us before we get our marks, so that we read the feedback. And then if you're disappointed with your score, or you think, I just don't understand why I didn't get a better mark, or whatever, you can go and see that member of staff with your question and say, how could I have done better?
I think that's so useful.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be as useful as it was. When I went to see all of the question setters and just said, how can I get more marks in these areas? And then they were like, oh, you need to, and it's obvious things that you should know, like read the question properly and don't put superfluous information that might be wrong. But just talking to them all and seeing kind of their psyche of how they were marking it is so helpful for actually attempting the questions. And I think that is the merit of having assessments. Some other universities have assessments right at the end. Some of them have summative assessments that count all the way through. And I think constantly giving us practice exams, which is what every modular exam so far has been, it hasn't counted. It lets you hone in on the exam technique and the clinical relevance of the question, and just talking about loads of science isn't going to necessarily help you with what they're looking for as a clinical angle. And in terms of how the modules are structured as well, they kind of, I think, have done quite a clever sort of ordering of the modules, because they've done a really hard module just after Christmas. So you kind of, the lead up to Christmas is like, oh, this is difficult, but I could probably do it. It's difficult, probably do it. Then you've invested a lot of time. Then there's a really hard module where you put loads of effort in. Then everyone fails it because it's so hard. Then you panic and go, goodness me, we've all failed. You work really, really hard. So then in the next module, because you've worked really, really hard, you do better. And you're like, oh, I can do this just in time for summatives. So there's an interesting psyche that they've sort of, I think that's true. I think that's true, because we have this hard exam, and then for summatives we're like,
everyone's in the spirit of working so hard, because you're just like, I just failed something midway through the year. I can't do this. I need to work harder.
But are those formative assessments, or are they something? So they're formative. So so they don't sort of count. You've learned. Oh my gosh. So you know where the standard is.
You get the opportunity to make the mistakes in advance, rather than making them when they count.
So that's the important thing about them being formative, isn't it?
It was quite interesting, because in the job, when I was talking to a standard entry course, and this girl, she said, why do you want to work hard for something that doesn't count? I mean, come on, you can just sit it. We all do, we just sit something that doesn't count. And I hadn't considered that was an option initially. So when she asked me the question, I thought about it. And when I looked around, I think it's because all of us take it as a learning experience. Each formative assessment, we look at it. And because that's how, right from the very beginning, our expectations are set. So I think that's very important. When the lecturers start, first week full of introductions, boring as it may be, they were very useful, because it kind of orientated us. What are we expecting? What are the usefulness of it? As we went along the year, we realized this is what they were talking about and this is what they meant. So I think that was very important.
I think also we need to know these things to practice as safely as doctors.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when I'm sitting there revising, rather than in previous degrees where I've been like, why do I need to know about this quantum mechanics? It's actually like, well, I need to know the side effects of this drug to look out for them. So you're motivated to learn. It's not like, oh, I'm not going to revise for this exam because it doesn't count. It doesn't matter if it counts or not. It's I need to know.
Yeah, I think that's the benefit of the clinical lectures, like you were saying before, to sort of have someone apply what you're learning. It kind of makes you think, at some point, hopefully, I'm going to have to deal with patients. And if I don't know this, I can't do that safely. I can't do it effectively. And it does make you think, I really need to know this. And it prepares you for the summative. I know that going back, at the minute we have our summative so soon, I know that going back over my previous revision has really helped me for the summative. So that sort of, as much as at the time we could have just sort of, doesn't count, I won't revise, it really helps in the long term to have done that. But as feedback goes generally, aside from just the structured exam feedback, we get so much feedback from from sort of our clinical skills tutors. I mean, John is my clinical skills tutor, and you get sort of a presentation at the start, and then you split into groups and practice. And it's really good to sort of, especially with taking histories, because we critique each other, and we take a section of a structured feedback each, and sort of really analyse it and be like, well, you could have done this better. And it's actually, some of the feedback you learn most from is, but that wasn't very good. And sometimes like being told that something's not very good, you're like, okay, I can improve that. It's better to have that sort of, it's not done in a negative way. Like I'm in Mia's group, we don't
really
critique negatively, but it's really good to sort of have someone say, maybe you could do it this way instead.
So that's
that
peer
really helps.
feedback.
Yeah, and John gets involved as well.
Okay.
The interesting thing was we were actually taught how to do it in the beginning, not word for word, because a lot of us have a little bit of understanding, but to give an idea about what is critical appraisal and then constructive feedback in the context of medicine as future doctors, and we were taught that as well, and I thought that was quite useful, even for one session.